The morning sky over Seoul burned red as Dr. Kim Tae-ho stood on the rooftop of his research building. Giant silver ships floated in the clouds above. Every major city on Earth, the Zephyrian ships had arrived 3 months ago with their promise of salvation. "Doctor, the evacuation numbers are coming in," said his assistant Park Min-soo, holding a tablet with shaking hands. 87% of Seoul's population has already boarded the transport ships. Tae-ho watched another group of families walking toward the loading zones. They carried small bags and looked hopeful. The Zephyrians had told them about beautiful new worlds with clean air and endless resources. They had shown holographic images of green planets with perfect weather and no pollution. "The storms are getting worse," Min-soo continued, pointing at the dark clouds gathering in the distance. "The weather stations are reporting atmospheric instability across the entire planet. The Zephyrians say Earth has maybe 2 years left before the air becomes completely toxic." Down in the street, Lee Sora hurried past the evacuation checkpoint. She worked in the underground monitoring station and had been studying the atmospheric data for weeks. Something felt wrong about the timing. The environmental collapse had started exactly when the Zephyrian ships arrived in orbit. "Dr. Kim?" She called through her radio. "You need to see this data. The atmospheric processors that failed last month. They didn't break down naturally. Someone sabotaged them." Tae-ho pressed his earpiece. "Are you certain the damage patterns are too precise? This wasn't an accident." Sora's voice carried worry. "But why would anyone want to make Earth's air worse?" A loudspeaker crackled to life across the city. The Zephyrian commander's voice spoke in perfect Korean, translated by their advanced computers. "Citizens of Earth, we have updated transport schedules. All remaining humans must report to evacuation centers within 48 hours. We cannot guarantee safety for those who delay." Park Min-soo looked at his tablet again. "Doctor, what should we do?" "My family is asking me to join them on the ships." Tae-ho walked to the edge of the rooftop. Below, he could see the long lines of people waiting to board the alien transports. Families said goodbye to their homes, their pets, their entire lives. The Zephyrians had promised them new lives on better worlds. "Look at how eager they are to take us away," Tae-ho said quietly. "They arrive just as our planet starts failing. They offer us new homes, but only if we leave immediately. They won't let us bring much with us." The Zephyrian officer approached. A group of farmers who had refused to leave their land. The alien was tall and thin, with silver skin and large black eyes. It spoke to them through a translation device. "Your crops will die within months," the officer said. "Your animals will suffocate in the poisoned air. Come with us now, and we will give you fertile fields on New Terra." The farmers looked at their withering plants and nodded sadly. They joined the line for the next transport ship. Lee Sora climbed onto the rooftop, breathing heavily. "I've been analyzing the mineral surveys the Zephyrians conducted when they first arrived. They spent a lot of time studying our rare Earth deposits. The same materials they claim are making our planet uninhabitable." "Interesting timing," Tae-ho muttered. "They study our resources, then our planet starts dying, then they offer to save us." Park Min-soo checked his tablet again. The latest reports show that 92% of the global population has now evacuated. The Zephyrians are calling. The remaining 8% acceptable losses in their official documents. "Acceptable losses?" Sora repeated. "We're not losses, we're witnesses." That evening, as the last major wave of evacuation ships departed, Tae-ho gathered with other scientists who had chosen to stay. Dr. Oh Young-seeg from the Atmospheric Research Center, Engineer Lee Dong-wook from the power station, and botanist Park So-young from the Agricultural Institute. "They think we're going to die here," Jung-seek said, watching the alien ships disappear into the stars. "The Zephyrians logged us as primitive holdouts in their departure manifest." "Maybe that's exactly what we want them to think," Tae-ho replied. "While they're busy managing 90% of humanity on distant worlds, we can figure out what really happened to our planet." So-young pulled out her research notes. "I've been studying the soil samples from areas where the atmospheric processors failed. The contamination patterns suggest deliberate sabotage, not natural breakdown. The question is," Dong-wook said, "can we reverse it?" Above them, The last Zephyrian monitoring station blinked as it powered down. The aliens had decided that the remaining humans weren't worth watching. They had bigger plans for Earth's future. Tejo looked around at his small group of colleagues. 47 million people had chosen to stay on Earth, scattered across the globe. The Zephyrians considered them foolish and doomed. "They think we're finished," he said with a slight smile. "Let's prove them wrong." The red sky began to clear as the alien ships disappeared completely. For the first time in months, stars became visible through the atmosphere. The real work was about to begin. 5 years had passed since the Great Evacuation. Choi Seung-min guided his submarine through the crystal-clear waters that now covered what used to be the Sahara Desert. The massive flooding had seemed like a disaster at first, but the remaining humans had learned to work with the changed landscape instead of fighting it. Depth reading shows 150 meters, reported his navigator Yoon Ha-jin from DC, the control seat. The underwater city of New Busan is coming into view. Through the thick glass windows, Seung-min could see the sprawling settlement below. Glowing blue lights marked the streets between dome-shaped buildings. Gardens of sea plants provided oxygen and food, while fish swam freely through designated areas. What had started as an emergency shelter had become a thriving community. Surface control. This is Deep Explorer 7. Ha-jin spoke into his radio. "We're approaching the docking station with medical supplies from the Atlantic settlements." Dr. Park So-young's voice crackled through the speaker. "Welcome back, Explorer 7. We've been expecting you. The new oxygen processors are working better than we hoped." On the surface, So-young stood in what used to be impossible farmland. The soil around her feet should have been toxic waste, but her quantum-enhanced plants grew tall and healthy. The rice stalks glowed with a faint green light as they pulled poison from the ground and converted it into nutrients. "The harvest numbers are incredible," her assistant Nam Ji-woo said, checking his tablet. "We're producing 3 times more food than the old farms ever did, and the soil gets cleaner every season." So-young smiled as she touched one of the glowing plants. "The Zephyrians thought they were poisoning our world. Instead, they gave us a chance to build something better." Message alert beeped on Ji-woo's device. "Doctor, we're receiving another transmission from the colony worlds. Evacuated settlements are reporting food shortages again." So-young's smile faded. The reports from humanity's new homes had been getting worse each month. The Zephyrians had promised paradise, but delivered cramped living spaces and limited resources. The alien overseers controlled everything from food distribution to job assignments. "What about medical supplies?" she asked. "The Zephyrians say the colony worlds don't have enough raw materials to produce medicines. They're asking the evacuated humans to work longer hours in the mining operations to earn basic health care." Above them, a transport aircraft landed on the floating platform that served as the region's main hub. The pilot, Lee Dong-wook, climbed out and stretched his arms. He had just returned from delivering supplies to the Arctic settlements. "The ice cities are doing well," he reported to the ground crew. "They figured out how to use the extreme cold to power their generators. The Aurora Research Station is producing more energy than they can use." His co-pilot Jin Ari checked her navigation equipment. "The atmospheric readings are stable across all regions. The air quality is actually better than it was before the Zephyrians arrived. It's because we're not just surviving anymore," Dong-wook said. "We're healing the planet while we live on it." Deep Underground Commander Oh Jung-sik studied the global monitoring displays in his command center. The screen showed population centers across Earth, each one adapted to its changed environment. Desert regions had become underwater cities. Polar areas had developed into geothermal communities. Mountain regions had built floating settlements above the clouds. "Sir, we're receiving another demand from the Zephyrian monitoring station." His communications officer, Sao Minho, reported. "They want updated casualty reports from Earth's surface." Gensek laughed. "Tell them we're all still dying slowly. No need to mention that our population has actually grown by 12% since they left." The truth was that the remaining humans had not just survived, but thrived. They had learned to turn every challenge into an opportunity. The poisoned soil had become super fertile farmland. The flooded deserts had become productive ocean cities. The unstable atmosphere had become a source of clean energy. What about the evacuated humans? Minho asked. Should we tell them what we've achieved? Jung-sik considered this carefully. Not yet. The Zephyrians monitor all communications to the colony worlds. If they learn that Earth is becoming stronger instead of weaker, they might return sooner than we're ready for. In the floating city of New Seoul, engineer Bae Hyun-woo worked on the latest atmospheric processor. The machine was 10 times more efficient than the old models and could clean the air while generating power. His team had developed the technology by studying the damage the Zephyrians had caused. We understand their sabotage methods now, he explained to his assistant Kim Yoo-jin. Every accident they caused taught us something new about atmospheric engineering. It's almost like they were teaching us accidentally, Yoo-jin observed. Maybe they were. They thought they were weakening us, but they were actually forcing us to become stronger. As the day ended, people across Earth settled into their new routines. Children played in underwater parks while their parents worked in aerial gardens. Communities that had seemed impossible 5 years ago now felt like home. The Zephyrians had expected to return to a dead world ready for mining. Instead, they would find a planet more alive than ever before, protected by humans who had learned to turn disaster into opportunity. The adaptation period was ending. The real test was about to begin. The Zephyrian mining fleet dropped out of hyperspace expecting to find a dead world. Admiral Kexthera stared at his main screen in complete shock. The planet below glowed with blue and green light. Massive cities floated above pristine oceans while aurora-like energy patterns danced in the atmosphere. This cannot be correct, Kexthera hissed to his science officer. Run the planetary scans again. The second officer checked his instruments. Twice, sir. The readings are accurate. The planet shows more life signs than when we departed 5 years ago. The atmospheric composition is nearly perfect. There are no signs of the environmental collapse we documented. Where are the dead zones, the toxic storms, the poisoned soil? Kexthera demanded. Gone, sir. Completely gone. The humans appear to have not only survived, but somehow reversed all the damage. On Earth's surface, Commander Oh Jung-sik received the alien transmission in his floating command center above the Pacific Ocean. The crystal-clear waters below teemed with marine life while underwater cities sparkled like jewels in the depths. Sir, the Zephyrian fleet is demanding immediate communication. His officer, Seo Minho, reported, requesting permission to land. Jung-sik smiled calmly. Put them through. Admiral Kexthada's image appeared on the main screen. The alien's silver skin looked pale and his large black eyes showed confusion and anger. Human Commander, you will explain this situation immediately. What situation would that be, Admiral? Jung-sik asked politely. Your planet should be dead. Our calculations showed complete environmental collapse within 2 years. Yet our sensors detect thriving ecosystems and advanced technology. Perhaps your calculations were wrong, Jung-sik replied. We adapted to the changes you... accidentally. Kexthera's eyes narrowed. You will evacuate all settlements immediately. This planet is scheduled for resource extraction. We have legal claims to all mineral deposits. I'm afraid that's not possible, Jung-sik said. Earth is our home. We've decided to stay. The alien admiral's voice turned threatening. You have no choice. Our fleet carries enough firepower to destroy your primitive settlements. You will comply or face the consequences. Jung-sik touched a control panel. Across the planet, hidden. Generators began to activate. I suggest you reconsider your approach, Admiral. Suddenly, shimmering energy barriers appeared around every human settlement. The underwater cities were protected by glowing domes. The floating platforms were surrounded by crackling force fields. Even the orbital stations above Earth activated their defensive systems. What is this? Kexthera demanded. Protection, Jung-sik answered simply. We had 5 years to prepare for your return. Use that time wisely. The Zephyrian fleet opened fire with their plasma cannons. The energy beams struck the barriers around the human settlements and simply disappeared, absorbed harmlessly. By the quantum shields. Impossible, the science officer whispered. Our weapons have no effect. Dr. Park So-young watched from her agricultural platform as the alien attack failed completely. The energy shields not only protected the settlements, but actually converted the weapon fire into power for the defensive grid. "The quantum processors are working perfectly," she reported to her assistant Nam Gi. "Woo. The alien weapons are actually charging our batteries? Should we return fire?" Nam asked. "No need," Soyoung replied. "Let them waste their energy," proving a point. In the underwater city of New Busan, Choi Seung-min watched the light show above through the transparent dome. The Zephyrian attack created beautiful patterns as the energy was absorbed and redistributed through the defensive network. Almost. "Pretty," his navigator, Yoon Hejin, commented. "Their weapons look like fireworks against our shields." "The children think it's a celebration," Seung-min said, pointing to the young people pressed against the viewing windows. "They don't know they're watching a failed invasion." Admiral Kexthara ceased fire after 10 minutes of useless shooting. His weapons had accomplished nothing except draining his ship's power systems. Human settlements remained completely undamaged. "How did you develop such advanced technology?" he demanded. "We learned from the best teachers," Jung-sik replied. "Every sabotage attempt you made taught us something new about energy manipulation. Every environmental disaster you caused forced us to develop better solutions." The truth was even more impressive than Jung-sik revealed. The humans had not just survived the Zephyrian sabotage, but had turned it into a learning opportunity. Accident had provided valuable data about alien technology and methods. Engineer Lee Dong-wook monitored the situation from his orbital station. "The Zephyrian fleet is requesting reinforcements," he reported to his team. "They're calling for a full battle group." "Let them come," his partner Jin Iri said. "Our defensive systems can handle much larger fleets. The more ships they send, the more power we'll have." Jung-sik opened a planet-wide communication channel. "Citizens of Earth, the Zephyrians have returned as expected. Their attempts to reclaim our world have failed. We are no longer the helpless refugees they abandoned. We are the guardians of a reborn planet." Admiral Kexathara realized that his easy mining operation had become an impossible military challenge, and the humans had somehow transformed from victims into adversaries. Worse, they had done it using principles the Zephyrians didn't understand. "This is not over," he transmitted to Jung-sik. "No," Jung-sik agreed. "It's just beginning. But now we negotiate as equals." The discovery phase was complete. The Zephyrians had learned that Earth was no longer theirs to take. News of Earth's successful defense spread across the galaxy faster than the Zephyrians could contain it. On the colony world of Kepler 44b, former Seoul resident Bae Hyun-woo stared at the hidden communication device in his cramped apartment. The message from Earth had arrived through secret channels that bypassed Zephyrian monitoring systems. They did it. He whispered to his wife, Kim Yujin, showing her the transmission. "Earth fought back and won. The planet is alive and thriving." Yujin looked at the images of floating cities and underwater settlements, but the Zephyrians told us Earth was dying. They said we would all be dead if we stayed. "They lied to us," Hyun-woo said, his voice filled with anger. "Look at our children, playing in those tiny recreation areas while Earth's children swim in clean oceans and breathe pure air." Through their small window, they could see the massive mining operation that dominated the colony's landscape. Thousands of humans worked in the extraction facilities, digging up rare minerals for their Zephyrian overseers. The aliens had promised meaningful work, but delivered only hard labor. "The food rations are getting smaller again," Yujin said. "The Zephyrians claim there are supply shortages, but I think they're selling our resources to other worlds." Hyun-woo activated the hidden transmitter that Earth's engineers had secretly installed in every colony world. "This is Colony Kepler 442b. Calling all human settlements. We have received confirmation that Earth is free and protected. It's time to share what we've learned." The response came immediately from dozens of worlds. Colony after colony reported the same pattern. Promises of paradise followed by restricted living conditions, forced labor, and dwindling supplies. The Zephyrians had scattered humanity across the galaxy and then systematically exploited them. Earth engineer Lee Dong-wook worked frantically to upgrade the planet's communication systems. His team had discovered that the Zephyrians were jamming transmissions between colony worlds to prevent organized resistance. "We need to reach every human settlement in the galaxy," he told his assistant, Jin Airy. "If we can share our defensive technology, we can break their control everywhere." "The quantum communication array is almost ready," Ari reported. "Once we activate it, the Zephyrians won't be able to block our signals." Dr. Park So-young had been developing something even more important than communication technology. Agricultural research had produced seed packets that could grow food in any environment. The plants would not only feed the colonists, but also begin healing damaged ecosystems. "These seeds will grow on any world," she explained to her assistant Nam Ji-woo. "Even if the soil is toxic or the atmosphere is thin, the plants will adapt and thrive." "How do we get them to the colonies?" Nam asked. "We don't send them. We teach the colonists how to make them." The first successful transmission reached the mining colony on Proxima Centauri. The humans there had been surviving on processed food bars and synthetic water for 5 years. When they received So-young's agricultural data, they began growing fresh vegetables in secret locations. "The plants are working," reported colony leader Han Jae-sung through the quantum communicator. "Not only are they growing in the toxic soil, but they're actually cleaning it. The Zephyrians haven't noticed yet." On the industrial world of Wolf 359, human workers had been forced to operate dangerous machinery without proper safety equipment. When they received Earth's shield technology, they began protecting themselves and their families. "The energy barriers are invisible to Zephyrian sensors," transmitted colony engineer Shin Woo-bin. "We're using them to create safe zones where we can meet and plan." Admiral Kexera monitored the growing rebellion from his command ship. His science officer reported increasingly disturbing news. "Sir, 17 colonies have stopped meeting their production quotas. The humans are becoming organized and resistant. They're sharing technology we don't understand." "How is this possible?" Kexera demanded. "We control all communications between worlds. They're using quantum entanglement communication, sir. Can't block or intercept it. The technology appears to have originated from the Earth survivors." The Admiral realized that the humans they had abandoned as worthless were now leading a galaxy-wide resistance movement. The primitive holdouts had become the most dangerous threat to Zephyrian control. On the agricultural world of Gliese 667c, former farmer Park Minzu had been forced to work in chemical processing plants. When he received Earth's environmental restoration techniques, he began secretly healing the damaged farmland. "The soil is responding faster than we hoped," he reported to Earth. "The Zephyrians poison this world to make us dependent on their synthetic foods, but we can grow real crops again." Commander Oh Young-sek coordinated the resistance from his floating command center. The screens around him showed colony worlds across the galaxy as they awakened to their true situation. "The Zephyrians are calling for emergency meetings," his officer Seo Minho reported. "They're trying to regain control, but it's too late. The humans know the truth now." "How many worlds are actively resisting?" Jung-sik asked. 43 colonies have confirmed successful implementation of our technologies. The number grows every day. The reckoning had begun. The Zephyrians had scattered humanity, thinking it would make them weak and controllable. Instead, they'd created a network of resistance that spanned the galaxy. Earth's survivors had not just saved their own world, but had become the catalyst for universal human liberation. The final confrontation was approaching. 2 years after the Great Rebellion began, Ambassador Shin Woo-bin stood in the Grand Assembly of the Terran Federation. The massive chamber floated in Earth's orbit, its transparent walls offering a stunning view of the restored planet below. Representatives from 67 worlds filled the curved seating areas, their faces showing a mixture of hope and determination. "The Zephyrian Collective has formally requested membership in our alliance," announced Secretary General Kong Myung from the central podium. "They have agreed to full reparations for the damage they caused and the return of all stolen resources." A murmur ran through the assembly. Many of the representatives were former colonists who had suffered under Zephyrian rule for years. The idea of their former oppressors asking to join them seemed almost impossible. Through the chamber's massive windows, Earth gleamed like a blue-green jewel against the black of space. Floating cities drifted slowly above pristine oceans where whales sang to engineered coral reefs. The polar regions bloomed with Arctic gardens that cleaned the atmosphere while providing food for the orbital habitats. The question before us, Mayan continued, is whether we accept their request or continue the trade embargo that has crippled their economy. Han Jae-sung, the former mining colony leader, stood to address the assembly. His once thin frame had filled out since returning to Earth. His eyes held the confidence of someone who had helped lead a successful revolution. Many of us chose to return to Earth after the liberation, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. Others remained on our adopted worlds as free citizens rather than forced laborers. What matters is that we had the choice. Below them, children played in the zero-gravity recreation areas while their parents worked in the orbital shipyards. The stations that had once been hidden defensive platforms now served as construction sites for peaceful exploration vessels. Dr. Park Soyoung worked in her orbital laboratory, developing new agricultural techniques that could help restore damaged worlds across the galaxy. Her quantum-enhanced plants had already begun healing ecosystems on 43 former colony worlds. The Zephyrians are requesting our agricultural technology, her assistant Nam Ji-woo reported. Their homeworlds are facing food shortages. Since the trade routes were disrupted, give them the basic techniques, Soyoung replied. But they need to understand that this technology works best when people cooperate rather than compete. In the underwater city of New Busan, Choi Sung-min guided a group of young Zephyrians through the coral gardens. The alien visitors seemed amazed by the harmonious relationship between technology and nature. How did you achieve this balance? Asked one of the young Zephyrians, her silver skin shimmering in the bioluminescent light. We learned to work with our environment instead of against it, Sung-min explained. When your people damaged our world, we had to find new ways to live. Those solutions made us stronger. Commander Oh Young-sik reviewed the latest reports from across the galaxy. The human colonies that had once struggled under Zephyrian rule now thrived as independent worlds. Many had developed technologies that surpassed even Earth's achievements. The former colony on Proxima Centauri has developed faster-than-light communication. His officer Seo Minho reported, they're offering to share the technology with all Federation members. What about the Zephyrian territories? Jung-sik asked. Their empire is fragmenting. Several worlds have declared independence and are requesting Federation membership. The Zephyrians can't maintain control without human cooperation. The transformation had been remarkable. The alien empire that had once dominated dozens of worlds now faced internal rebellion and economic collapse. Their advanced technology meant nothing without the resources and labor they had, stolen from conquered species. Engineer Lee Dong-wook worked on the latest fusion reactors in Earth's orbital ring. The clean energy technology had been shared freely, with every world in the Federation creating abundance where there had once been scarcity. The Zephyrians are asking for our energy technology, his partner Jinari reported. Their power systems are failing without the forced labor from colony worlds. We'll share it, Dong-wook said, but only if they agree to our terms, no more. Forced labor, no more resource theft, and full participation in the Federation's cooperative principles. In the assembly chamber, the debate continued. Some representatives wanted to exclude the Zephyrians permanently as punishment for their past actions. Others argued for forgiveness and cooperation. Former colony engineer Bae Hyun-woo stood to speak. The Zephyrians taught us something important, even if they didn't mean to. They showed us that dividing people makes everyone weaker. Unity makes us all stronger. His wife Kim Yujin nodded from her seat. They had chosen to return to Earth with their children, but they maintained contact with friends who had stayed on their adopted worlds. The galaxy had become a network of connected communities rather than isolated colonies. Secretary General Kung Myung called for the final vote. All in favor of accepting the Zephyrian Collective as provisional members of the Terran Federation. The vote was close, but it passed. The former oppressors would be given a chance to join the civilization they had tried to destroy. As the assembly session ended, representatives looked down at Earth's transformed landscape. The planet that had almost been abandoned now served as the capital of a peaceful galactic federation, floating cities, underwater settlements, Orbital habitats worked together in perfect harmony. The species that had nearly given up on their world had instead made it the heart of a new age, of cooperation and prosperity.